Hi everyone, David Aragona and Mike Beer here taking a look at the DRF Sunday Race of the Day, which is the traditional opening day feature at Santa Anita, the Grade 1 Malibu, race 10 on their 11 race Sunday card. You'll notice it's not the traditional day after Christmas opening of Santa Anita. They did have to postpone their opening day a couple of days back from December 26th to the 28th due to some torrential rain that's predicted all throughout the week in Southern California. So we're hopeful to get this Malibu and the other races on this Sunday card in over a fast, dry racetrack. Because, Mike, this drew a pretty nice field of 10 runners. It is very heavy on the Bob Baffert trainees. You can see that from the rundown here. We've got Baffert sending out 5 of the 10 runners in this field. And not just that, but Bob Baffert has all of the horses that are listed at single digits on the morning line.
Yeah, I was going to say we're starting to get used to this in these stakes races in California. It seems like this one is maybe even over the top here. He's got half the field in the Malibu, and it seems like he's got all the logical horses in the race too. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
Everybody, before we proceed with this preview, it is the season of giving with Christmas and the holidays right around the corner. So all we ask from you in this holiday season is just hit that thumbs up button below the video, hit the like button, because it really helps us with the YouTube algorithm getting some more eyes on the videos that we do, and that helps us produce more in the future. So everybody, make sure to hit that like button and drop us a comment if you feel inclined to do so. Let's take a look at the Timeform US pace projector for this Grade 1 Malibu. And Mike, a few of these Bob Baffert runners, they do have plenty of early speed. I'll be interested to see how they ride the horse that's shown leading on this pace projector, the number 5 Midland Money, because you know he's naturally fast enough to get to the front end, and maybe putting the blinkers back on will elicit some of that speed that seems to have left him in the past couple of races. But they don't have to go to the lead with him. Cornucopian's fast, and the horse from the rail, Modus Bestia, he seems like the one that really needs to send to have his best chance.
Yeah, it seems like, the horse that's drawn to the rail, he might not have any choice anyway, but he's just a very naturally fast horse. He's got handy speed. He's probably under the gun from the rail. He probably goes, the Baffert horses all have speed, so we'll see how they decide to ride these horses and how it plays out. Midland Money, I would say this about him. He's fat. If they want the lead, he'll probably make it. Hasn't been that great from the gate in his recent starts, and we'll see with the blinkers going back on. Maybe that's the sign that Baffert wants him more involved again.
If you guys want to check out the Timeform US pace projector and some other features in Timeform US, you can do so by taking advantage of the free past performances that are available as this DRF Sunday Race of the Day. Just go to the DRF website, navigate to the Race of the Day page. You get free all-access PPs, which include Classic, Formulator, and Timeform US to handicap along with me and Mike. And let's go through the horses in this Malibu, beginning with the number 1, Modus Bestia. And Mike couldn't be in much better form right now, coming off a couple of 90-plus Beyer victories, including last time out when he beat first level allowance competition on Breeders' Cup weekend. And we'll take a look at the replay of the stretch run of this race. He had to go fast early. He battles back when challenged an upper stretch to fend off a nice older horse in here. And this horse, he's obviously very talented, but he's drawn inside of foes here. He's going to have to likely improve to beat this field. And I just wonder if he can see it out going this trip.
Yeah, I think there's just so much working against him. I really like his last 2 races. He's looked good winning again. He's a very handy kind of speed horse. So I guess if he doesn't make the lead, it probably doesn't, totally give him no chance to win here. But I'd still worry about it. And I just don't see him getting loose on the lead in this race, David. So I think that it probably works against him. I like his last 2 races. I don't know if I like him in this spot.
There are going to be some big prices in this race. Among them, Mike, I think the hardest one to make a case for is probably the number 2, Spenard, who has been well managed by his connections, winning, going all different circuits, trying to, find spots where he can be competitive. I'm just not sure that trying Grade 1 company in Southern California is really going to be the ticket for this horse to achieve success.
He just hasn't run a race that's going to, make him that competitive against these horses in this kind of race. They're going to turn back here, and I guess maybe the plan will just be to let him get out, run early, and see how many pieces he can pick up late.
Well, let's encounter the first of the 5 Bob Baffert runners as we move on to the number 3 Madaket Road. And Mike, it's kind of funny when you look at this horse's past performances and realize that he's still eligible for a first level allowance race, just 1 victory in 8 starts. And while he's lost 6 races in a row, he's really run well in all of those graded stakes attempts. I mean, he's just been on this steady diet of graded stakes races ever since breaking his maiden. And he's tried Grade 1 company recently. He has not been disgraced at this level, finishing second to Patch Adams in the Woody Stevens 2-back. And even though he was off the board in the Alan Jerkins last time, he did not get an ideal trip in that race, just wide every step of the way. I don't know if I love him as a winning type, but I would be most surprised among the Baffert contingent here if he doesn't show up.
That's probably true. Yeah, I won't argue with that. He's okay. I think I'm glad that you point out his Jerkins, because I like you didn't love the ride that he got in that race. It's just not a winning trip in that kind of a race. I'm still not sure that he ran that well in there, but he didn't get a great trip in there. The Stevens 2 starts back, he actually did run well that day. Sort of lunged and stumbled at the start, and then rushed up into the pace that day. That was a decent performance. I feel like when I watch his races, David, if I wanted to, I could make excuses for him, and I don't really want to. I just don't really like him that much. I don't think he's that good. I think even with the trouble that we've sort of talked about here, he kind of is what he is on paper. I just don't think he's ultimately got that much more to give him. Maybe he gets a great trip in here, because he is a horse who I think can sit and make a run.
I've got the same reservations, Mike, but I could see him being a fair price in this race because he doesn't have that
Yeah.
sexy look that a lot of the other Baffords have, and I won't be shocked if he's a bettable price in this spot. The number 4, Speedy Wilson, he's coming off a first level allowance victory where he did make a pretty nice run from off the pace to win going away at the end, and you will note he beat the same horse, Comedy Town, that Modus Bestia beat when he won at that level last time. So those form lines translate pretty well between these two horses. He's just going to have to run a lot faster, Mike, because Speedy Wilson has never put forth a speed figure that makes him competitive against this field.
Exactly. He's just another horse who hasn't run fast enough to beat these horses. He's all 4 of his wins are from off the pace sprinting, and 2 of those are going 7 furlongs. So if this pace gets competitive up in front of him, he's another one. Maybe he could pick up a few pieces late. I would never use him on top against this field.
The number 5, Midland Money, is another one of those Baffert horses that contested that HL and Jerkins this summer at Saratoga when Baffert sent over, I believe, 3 runners to contest that spot. I think they're all back in this field. And Midland Money, he was somewhat disappointing that day, though he was involved in a pretty fast pace in that race. And since then, he's tried Allowance Company a couple of times in Southern California. He's finished second in both of those races. But, Mike, they took the blinkers off after that Jerkins, and it seemed like they wanted to get him to relax a little bit. But as you pointed out, he didn't break that sharply, especially last time. He was just out of position every step of the way. And we'll take a look at the stretch run of this race. I mean, he's closing very well at the end behind a talented horse in Bartleby. It just felt like he ran out of ground on this occasion. And I wonder what kind of trip he's going to work out here now as they put the blinkers back on.
Yeah, to me, that's the most confounding thing about him too. I do think I'll start off by saying this. I do think he's talented enough to win a race like this. I thought his debut, even though it only got a 67, was a super impressive performance. I really liked his return from the long layoff at Saratoga as well. His Jerkins, he just wasn't good enough in that race when they sent him off to the lead. But they were asking a lot of him there. I thought it's very clear to me, David, watching his 2 races since the Jerkins, that Baffert wanted to teach this horse to rate. They did not use his speed, and he didn't break great in those races, but they didn't use his speed either time. They wanted this horse off the pace in those races. And I actually feel like he ran really well last time. Even though he was never a real threat in there. Blinkers going back on, I think he'll be more involved early in this race, and I think it could make a difference.
The number 6, Berlin Wall, Mike, he looks totally overmatched based on company lines and speed figures. I will say, though, when I watch this horse's races, there's some talent here. I mean, this horse was so visually impressive last time. I mean, the way he traveled into that race and just accelerated away from the field once he was unleashed in the final 3/16 of a mile, you could see this horse is good. Just feels like this might not be the right spot for this Calibret to really shine.
Yeah, feel the same way about him. His first few races were fine. The figure didn't improve at all, but it seemed like he took a huge step forward last time. That was a very impressive win. I don't know if this is the right spot.
Like we were chatting about it a little bit before we started to record, of all the non-Baffert runners in this race, maybe the most interesting one is the number 7, Smooth Cruisin', because this horse has held his own against some pretty tough fields when you go back over his past 4 or 5 starts. I mean, he's faced older company against at the graded stakes level. He was not disgraced last time when he tried that prep for the Breeders' Cup Sprint and the Santa Anita Sprint Championship. He didn't really have comfortable position coming around the far turn. He was always in traffic behind a wall of horses in upper stretch. Now, he was never getting to the winner of the top couple of finishers that day, but keep in mind, Imagination and Dr. Venkman, who were first and second, they came right back to finish second and third behind Ben Tornado in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. So Smooth Cruisin' has kept some very good company, and I don't think he's going to beat all 5 Baffert runners, but I'm not going to be surprised when he gets a piece of this.
Yeah, I agree. It's the thing with this race is like the Baffert's got 5. I think they're all, really good horses, or at least pretty good horses in this race. I don't think any of them are like unbeatable. Like Baffert's horses are good, but they're not unbeatable in here. It's still hard to sort of get away from them. Smooth Cruisin' was the one horse that I really wanted to make a case for. I mean, I've been following him since his debut at the end of last year, where he basically didn't do anything right. and he still won that race. And you could tell that he had a lot of ability. And since they've sprinted him in Stakes Company this year, David, it's all against older horses. He didn't run in any of the 3-year-old sprints. They ran in all the sprints against older horses. A 4-horse field against Nisos, a 3-horse field in the Shared Belief 2 stars. Like, he's not going to win those kinds of races.
The number 8 Cornucopian, he is probably going to vie for favoritism among the Baffert runners in this race. I won't be surprised when he's the favorite outright, given the fact that Flavien Prat is riding this one. And Mike, this horse clearly has the talent to win a race like this. We saw it going all the way back to his debut race when he garnered so much buzz as maybe a potential Kentucky Derby candidate after he won that race in late February. And they did try a Kentucky Derby prep race right after that, the Arkansas Derby. It did not work out at all. He got involved in a suicidal early pace and played the price late, and I think he paid the price at his next start too, because he was pretty flat when he came back in that first level allowance race at Aqueduct. I know it got a 93 buyer. To me, that race was not nearly as strong as the speed figure that was assigned to it, and now he's coming back off the long layoff. I think there's a sentiment, Mike, that this horse has the talent to win a race like this, and sprinting might be his gig based on what we saw on debut. And I will say, I watched his most recent workout, kind of reminiscent of the workout that we saw going back to the Derby Trail earlier this year when he was paired up in company with Barnes. Once again, he was going easier than Barnes in that workout, so I'm not going to be surprised when people see that and make him the favorite in here. I just don't know how short a price I want to take on a horse that still has quite a bit to prove.
Yep, have the same reservations just about taking him as maybe the favorite in the race. Certainly one of the favorites. I was as impressed with his debut as everybody else was. The Arkansas Derby is obviously a better performance than it might look on paper. Maybe he was burned up by that race, David, and maybe something also happened in the allowance race at Aqueduct too, because we haven't seen him since then. But let's be honest, he was bad in that race. He did not run well in there, and now he's going to come back off the layoff in a Grade 1, and you're going to be asked to take him as the favorite. That's not for me. Maybe he'll win.
The number 9, Barnes, he is coming off a pretty nice effort when he won the Perryville at Keeneland by nearly 10 lengths. We'll take a look at the stretch run of this race, and not a whole lot to see because there's not a whole lot of running going on behind Barnes in this race, Mike. I mean, the runner-up in here, Captain Cook, he finishes second almost by default because it never seemed like he was himself or even really in the race, and Barnes basically couldn't help but win. I will say it was a positive that at least Barnes was way more engaged in the early stages of this race, because it was kind of concerning when we saw the race at Parks 2 back where he could not get out of the gate, could not get into stride. It's just like Silky Sullivan at the back of the pack before he was running on late. So it was nice to see Barnes get back to his typical running style in the last race. I just don't know how much credit I want to give him for that performance. And it's not like he's been a horse that has put those big efforts back to back.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say, and maybe he's just not a distance horse, but isn't it fair to say that he hasn't panned out off of what was a really promising debut? We'll see. Maybe he's still got a chance to do it. I'm glad you said it. I don't have to. His Perryville was fine. I was not really taken with that performance. I didn't like his race at Parks 2 back, but maybe didn't like that track. And even his Jerkins was fine. And it was a fast race, a really good race. He got a good trip in that race, and he wasn't good enough.
And rounding out the field on the outside is the 5th of the Bob Baffert runners, the number 10, Goal Oriented. And kind of like some others we talked about, Mike, this was a horse that they tried a Triple Crown race with, going back to the Preakness, I should say. Didn't quite work out. He was involved in that controversial bumping incident at the top of the stretch. And he obviously kind of went the wrong way a little bit in recent starts. Although I will say, I think he had a valid excuse in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile, because that was a race run over a track where it seemed like speed and the inside was starting to become more and more of an advantage as the day played out. And Nisos and really the top 3 finishers, they all spent some time on the rail in that race, and Goal Oriented just vacated the inside early and found himself chasing 2 to 3 wide throughout. So I understand why he faded on that occasion. It's not like he ran that badly in the Pennsylvania Derby 2 back, where he loomed up at the top of the stretch like he might pose a threat and then just couldn't quite finish, which does lead you to believe that shorter might be better for him. And now he's turning back to a one-turn race for the first time since he won his career debut.
Yeah, exactly. Listen, his first 2 races to me were both really good. And then his Preakness, Haskell, Pennsylvania Derby were all fine. I thought he ran well in all of those races. Your point, I'm glad you brought up the way the track was playing, I guess, at the Breeders' Cup, because he basically had the same trip that Nisos did in there, except Nisos was on the rail and this horse was on the outside. And then he just could not keep up around the final turn of that race. So I was disappointed with his Breeders' Cup, but you bring it up the way the track was playing, maybe that's a valid excuse for him. I don't know. I'm conflicted, David. I don't know that I necessarily think turning back is good for this horse. But I guess we'll find out. What I really think is if he doesn't run well here, Baffert, turn him into a turf horse as a 4-year-old.
He does have plenty of turf pedigree on the bottom side. We'll see if that is in the cards for goal-oriented in the future. Let's go to our picks for this Sunday race of the day. And I'm going to put that horse we were just talking about on top. I don't totally trust him. Like, I don't totally trust the two Bob Baffert runners that I've got my top 2 picks in this race. I just feel like they're the only 2 that I could bet money on at the prices they're going to be. And I feel like goal-oriented has a higher ceiling than the number 3 Madaket Road if he shows up with it. We'll see. I do like the outside draw for a horse that probably will come from off the pace. And York put the number 5 Midland Money on top, another of the Bob Baffert runners, and I'll be interested to see how he's ridden in this spot.
Me too. I feel the same. Like, I'm with you on, you said the 2 Bafferts that you have on top you don't trust. I don't necessarily trust any of the 5 Baffert horses in this race. I just feel like they're the right ones. And it wasn't easy for me to pick and choose between them. I think, as opposed to some of the others, though, I do think Midland Money is a sprinter. He's a fast horse. They've tried to teach him to rate recently, but that just might not be his thing. I think he can really benefit, though, from those kinds of trips. And now Blinker's back on. I think he's more involved here. I don't think 7-2 is the right price for me, David. I think I'd want more than that, but we'll see how they bet the race. I'm going to take him on top.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be the same price as Cornucopian in this race. They'll probably go in separate directions. And I'll just say I will have a bet where I'm using or keying the number 7 Smooth Cruisein underneath somewhere because I think you can get a piece of this race. It's 10-3-8-7 for me and 5-10-9-8 for Mike in the DRF Sunday race of the day. The Grade 1 Malibu out at Santa Anita. Everybody, happy holidays and good luck if you're playing opening day at Santa Anita this weekend.